Hello, Brian here with Plumbing Solutions. So I got asked earlier this week, how come y'all guys don't turn your valves on and test your water heater at install? Well, there's a reason for that, and to explain that reason, I want to show you some things inside this water heater. Let's take this cover off. I went ahead and pulled the screws out of it, so this will go by faster. All right, what I want to point out is you see these little white things here? These are actually electric ceramic heaters. And if this thing drops down to a certain temperature, I think it's somewhere around 40, 42 degrees, it's not all the way to freezing, but if it starts getting cold, this thing knows to kick these little heaters on. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna protect these copper pieces from freezing. Now this piece here, this is a thermal overload thing, but there is another one back here in the back on this side. This is your heat exchanger, and there is another one. These are bigger ones back here in the back on this side as well. And I believe there's a bypass tube. There's some more back in the back, and there's some little round ones down where the valves come in and out. Now, they don't get hot enough to actually heat the water. What it's there for is simply to protect this unit from freezing, and they all have them. It doesn't matter if it's an indoor unit, it doesn't matter if it's an outdoor unit, they all have those emergency ceramic heaters to, if this starts getting cold, it's gonna kick on and it's gonna heat up this whole thing. Not hot, but warm enough to keep this thing from freezing. So, where does that leave us? Well, if you don't have power hooked up, then you don't have these ceramic heaters to kick in and protect this thing from freezing. If there is water inside of this heat exchanger without that protection and it drops down into freezing conditions with no power, this is what happens. It pops your copper heat exchanger. Even here on the front, I don't know if you can see it, this has been expanded too, all these speckles on that copper. This was one of the ones that froze on us, and I saved this. So, we don't turn the water on to the water heater unless we have power to protect it from freezing. Now, we do test our hot side so we can test all of our fixtures, and I'm going to show you real quick how we do that. Just want to point out something real quick while we're talking about how do you test your hot side if your water heater's off. Now at Rough-In, we're going to do something like this. This is a water heater loop. Now this one is up high. This is for a conventional style tank stand-up water heater. But we also loop them out like this, just a little bit lower, for our tanklesses. So hot and cold at Rough-In are tied together, so they're both being tested equally because of this. And some of our valves don't have cartridges in them, and they let the water bypass through themselves. So we are testing both hot and cold at Rough-In. All right, here is our typical washing machine box. This is what it would look like at Rough-In before sheetrock. We have hot and cold here, and they have a gauge. This gives us a good place to test. What we'll do is we'll take that gauge off, and if they've got a wash machine hose, they'll use it. This is QI stuff, quality inspectors. If they don't, they'll make one of these, and this is just it's a dishwasher hose with two ends on it, and you connect both sides to your box, and then you turn both sides on. Now we have cold water flowing down our hot side, so now our pressure balanced tub valves will work, and we can adequately test the hot side. Now it's not with hot water, But we have pressurized both sides, and this is how our quality inspectors test their houses at Trim. They connect these two together, and it works pretty well for us. Okay, so let's say you've gotten your electrician, the gas company's been out, your plumber's been out and set this thing, and he didn't turn the valves on. But I have power, I have water, and I have gas. What am I gonna do now? Well, let me show you. All right, now most of the time, there's gonna be a cover over this, and you'll have to take the two screws out at the bottom, or the Rinnai, I think, has two knobs. They've changed over the years, but you got to take that cover off. There's going to be a piece of insulation shoved in here. You're going to pull that down or out of the way. Find the red and blue valves here on your isolation valves. They should be turned up like this. Sometimes, because of the cover, this thing will actually be turned like this, and you're actually going to have to get back there to get it. But you'll need to turn these on by turning them down like so. They could be pretty tight. They've probably been off for maybe several weeks with water pressure pushing on them. It'll make them a little harder to turn. You can get a pair of pliers on these if you want to, just to get them started. Be careful, you don't want to mess them up. You know, scratch the paint. People like things pretty. So that's it. You should hear it go tss, tss, tss. And if the power's on, it may even try to fire up because water is passing across that little impeller as it pressurizes this unit. The next thing to do would be probably open this, ooh, it does have water on it, how about that? Open up your temperature and pressure relief here, let it blow all the air out, or go open a hot side on a faucet. But that's pretty much it. Just make sure nobody turns the power off. And this, like I said, is especially for freezing. That's why we do it. We want to protect this thing as much as we possibly can. We want to keep the water out of it until we have gas and power, and it is ready to roll.